So I don't know if y'all know this about me, but honestly by now y'all should, and that is I love perfume. Baby, I got a different fragrance for every single day of the week. And if you're wondering just how I'm able to afford all of these smell goods, it's simple. It's Scentbird. Scentbird is a very affordable fragrance subscription service that lets me try out any scent that I want. And if for some reason you don't like the scent that you received, then that's okay, because you didn't commit to the full bottle and you didn't commit to that full bottle price, honey. In fact, your first month at Scentbird is just $8, and then it's less than $17 after that. This month, I wanted to smell like what I want to attract. So I saw commodity gold and baby, I bought it. And it was the perfect choice. I smelled like a vanilla dream with some sandalwood and amber mixed in it. The next fragrance I got was for all the girlies out here that be wondering, how can I tell them I like the finer things in life? Let your perfume do the talking. Get you some Expressive by Deck of Scarlet. And when he smells that pistachio, cocoa, and amber all mixed together, he's gonna be willing to buy anything that you can put your pretty little finger on. Now, these are all some very sexy scents. But when it's time to get your groove on, baby, it's just time to get your groove on. And you can get your groove on right now for just $8 for your first month of Scentbird. That is 55% off. All you have to do is scan the QR code that's on the screen or click the link in the description and use my coupon code. All right, it is time to get into that work. This is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another Old Hollywood Scandal video. And yes, I am aware there are two of you guys that I have to shout out, but I'm gonna save it to the next video because this intro has already been too long. So let me go ahead and slap this disclaimer up here, baby, because I am tickled by this Smokey Robinson video. Let's get to it after this disclaimer. Hey y'all, I'm not sure what's true or false in this video. It is all for entertainment purposes. I have done my research. Make sure you guys do yours. Stay positive and stay grounded. Let's get to the video. On February the 19th, 1940, a lady by the name of Flossie Robinson showed up at a Detroit, Michigan hospital in sheer panic. You see, Flossie was pregnant and she was hoping that the baby she was carrying would be a miracle baby. It had been 12 years since she had her last child, and now doctors and even some friends were telling Flossie that her body wouldn't be able to handle it and that she or her baby might die. And now here she was at the hospital about to give birth. When doctors told Flossie to push and a blonde swoop head baby came out hollering at the world, Flossie was overjoyed. She had birthed her miracle baby. This baby's name was William Robinson Jr., and nobody at that hospital could believe he belonged to Flossie. See, little William not only had blonde hair, he had blue eyes and very light skin. Matter of fact, little William looked so white that it was a godfather who gave him the nickname Smokey. And when Smokey or William questioned, why are you calling me Smokey Joe? His godfather told him it was because he was so light-skinned that he didn't ever want Smokey to forget that he was a black boy, that he had a black mother and a black father. And so Smokey Joe went on to grow up in a loving family, but unfortunately the love between his mother and father didn't last long. And rumor has it, while Smokey was still very young, they ended up divorcing. Regardless of his parents divorcing, though, his mother and his father both were still very active in his life. So at first, Smokey's childhood was mostly happy. He even had a crush at 7 years old on a little girl from around the way. Her name was Aretha. Yes, child, the folks say that Smokey was in love with little Riri, but gossip claims her older brother was threatening to bust Smokey upside the head, so he never got the chance to tell Aretha how much he liked her. But even though he couldn't hold Aretha's little hand, there were several girls at his school whose hands he did hold. This little boy was so smooth, he even made a big show of giving a ring to one of the girls in his classroom. But then when the little girl came back to school crying 3 days later because her finger was green, Smokey was sitting up there sliding into the background, talking about somebody must have replaced his real ring with a fake ring. Child, please. Now, those were some very cute memories of Smokey in elementary school, but unfortunately, he had some very terrible memories while he was at elementary school as well. The folks say his mother Flossie ended up getting sick with with severe headaches that would keep her bedridden when Smokey was around 9 years old. And then one night when he was only 10 years old, his mother called him up into her room and she talked to him and she held him, and then she sent him out of the room, and later on that night she ended up passing away. Flossie was only 43 years old. Now, as tragic as it was, the rest of the family who knew Flossie had passed away decided not to tell Smokey until the next day when he got out of school. Well, honey, you know the black community is a gossip field, baby. Smokey gets to school the next day, and the first thing that the teacher says is, "Okay, class, let's all bow our heads and have a moment of silence for little Smokey. You know, his mother passed away last night." Baby, as soon as she said it, all hell broke loose. Girl, they say Smokey was just a swinging on everybody in sight, baby, just yelling, "My mama ain't dead, my mama ain't dead, you take that back." Child, that teacher was sitting up there with her hair blew back, and she recognized her mistake. So gossip claims she apologized to Smokey and then sent him home for the rest of the day. And of course, when he got home, that is when his family confirmed that his mother Flossie had indeed passed away. And this was something that was hard for Smokey to deal with for several years. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure that he's all the way over it now, because he lost his mother at a very early age. But of course, over the years, something started burgeoning in Smokey's life that would help him out. And this was music. Smokey had a love for Sarah Vaughan and Jackie Wilson, and it was while singing along to some of their songs that he found out that he possessed a pretty good voice himself. And so by the time he was a teen, he and a couple of friends started a group called The Chimes, and then later they changed their name to The Miracles. Now, The Miracles were just a small local group at this time, but no matter how small their venues were, it was enough to bring the girls around. And honey, Casanova Smokey was a teenager now, and them hormones was popping. Child, the folks say the boy was a hoe for sure. But no matter how many girls Smokey was laying down, he never wanted to be in a relationship until one day a bandmate by the name of Emerson Rogers invited Smokey to his house. Gossip claims Smokey goes through the front door, he talks to Emerson's mother and father, and then he walks into the kitchen, and baby, he almost falls flat on his face. There, standing before him, is an angel on the face of this earth. She was Emerson's sister, and she had a name that Smokey would never forget. That name was Claudette. The folks say it took about 4 months before Smokey even worked up the nerve to even talk to Claudette. And after they had been friends for maybe around 4 or 5 months, that is when he finally asked Claudette out, and she said yes. Now, they both were around 15 or 16 years old at this time, but like I told you just a minute ago, Smokey had been laying them down. Well, honey, I guess Smokey thought Claudette was gonna be like them other girls he had been messing around with. So gossip claims that they probably wasn't even dating about 3 months before he started pressuring her to give up some of her booster. And when Claudette told him no and that she was waiting for marriage, he was sitting up there mad. Matter of fact, after about a year of them dating, Smokey gonna walk up to Claudette talking about, "Now look at here, girl. We've been together for a while now, and I'm gonna need you to come up off some of that TT, or this here just ain't gonna work. I'm gonna have to get my rocks off with some other girl." And you know what Claudette told him? "Well, go see the other girls, cause baby, I ain't coming up off of nothing." And Smokey, slicked up head, actually did it. I mean, him and Claudette did still remain like talking and being flirtatious. Y'all know how people be talking. So they did remain doing that. But yeah, Smokey went out and started messing around with the other girls. But it was cool though, because see, while Smokey was out there poking and stroking, a big, fine, strapping soldier ended up coming home from the military. His name was Raleigh, and he had an interest in Claudette. And this soldier wasn't no teenager, baby. He was 20 years old, and not only did he want to talk to Claudette, he wanted to marry her. Baby, you should have seen Smokey crying behind that doggone car wheel, speeding over to Claudette's house when he thought she was gonna marry that doggone Riley. Child, as soon as he pulled up to Claudette's house, couldn't even get out the car good before he's sitting up there. So you talking to this Riley guy now? Do you want him? You gonna marry him, Claudette?" And y'all know just where Claudette's hair was, back here. Because she's wondering, how you sitting up here mad and crying over me and Riley, but you been out here sleeping with other girls? Oh, baby, you know Smokey ain't have no answer for that. Only thing he could say is, well, Claudette, you know they ain't mean nothing to me. I was just messing with them because you wouldn't do nothing with me. But now you finna sit there and marry Riley and give him all the TT. And thank goodness Claudette was still in love with Smokey, honey, because that boy probably would have died right there if Claudette would have confirmed those thoughts. But she didn't confirm his thoughts about her and Raleigh. She actually told Smokey that, Smokey, I'm not gonna marry him. I really actually love you and we can be together again, but I'm gonna have to be your only girl. You're gonna have to give up them other girls. And Smokey agreed, and this time he and Claudette ended up getting together again, and this time it was super official. And Smokey was happy that he didn't have to worry about Soldier Boy Raleigh anymore. But the he was on him, because very soon there was gonna be another guy he had to worry about, and that guy's name was Berry Gordy. So to get to that point, I gotta tell you this. Emerson Rogers, Claudette's brother, ended up quitting the Miracles because he ended up going into the military. Smokey and the rest of the Miracles decided that Claudette could step in as a singer for her brother. Well, it was while Claudette was singing with them that Smokey started to really focus on, doing this music thing. And so he started making different connections with people who were on the club scene, music scene in Detroit, all of that good stuff. And he ended up running across Berry Gordy. And Berry Gordy at this time was not this Berry Gordy. No, baby. This Berry Gordy right here was allegedly broke and musty, the folks say. And I'm serious about the musty, baby. At least one person said in a book that around this time that Berry used to be sitting up there musty. As a matter of fact, that person who said that is actually going to be my very next video. But anyway, like I said, Berry was not the successful Motown owner Berry Gordy that we know at this time. I think he actually was like a struggling talent manager or something like that. So anyways, at this point, Berry, who is the talent manager, is trying to build his talent on his roster, and so he ends up meeting Smokey and the rest of the Miracles, and Berry asks for the Miracles to perform for him. And so the Miracles audition, and Berry tells Smokey that he likes the group, and everybody goes home. Well, baby, when Claudette gets to her home, her mama tell her it's a young gentleman on the phone for her. Claudette picks up the phone, baby, it's Berry Gordy. Talking about some, hi, this is Berry, the guy you just auditioned for. And Claudette is like, yes, hi, Mr. Gordy, how are you? Well, I just want to say that I would be much better with you on my arm. I was wondering if I could take you out on a date. And Claudette is stunned because she's like, I know this guy saw me interacting with my boyfriend Smokey earlier. But she plays it cool and she tells Berry, oh, I'm sorry, I would love to, but I'm actually already dating a guy. Smokey? And baby, Berry, Smokestack. Who's that? And Claudette is like, no, Smokey. Mr. Berry, the light-skinned one, the lead singer of our group. Oh, Smokey, yes, I remember him now. And baby, Berry, no, he wrong. But while everybody's sitting up there frowned up at Berry Gordy, baby, he probably had a great reason to backdoor Smokey Robinson. Because gossip claims a little later on, Smokey was going to try to backdoor him. Let's move on. So, of course, I'm not going to spend much time about the career side of things of Smokey's story, but to get back to Smokey's personal life, soon after the Miracles signed with Berry Gordy, Claudette and Smokey ended up getting married, which happened in the year of 1959. And they really were very deeply in love. But Motown was filled with a lot of women, and gossip claims that his first affair was possibly with Diana Ross, and if it wasn't, baby Claudette sure enough thought so. Now the folks say in or around 1960 or 1961, Claudette ended up getting pregnant. Unfortunately, she ended up losing the baby after only 5 months, and she and Smokey were devastated, but gossip claims it was soon after this loss that Diana Ross and Smokey started hanging around each other like a lot. Now, Smokey and Diana Ross had been friends for a long time throughout childhood. Gossip claims that he even brought her and the Supremes to Motown, but the folks say that this kind of hanging around that they were doing now wasn't about no friendship. See, Smokey was a hit maker with his writing pen, and gossip claims that ain't none of those hits belong to the Supremes. So Diana Ross at this moment was just aching for a hit. And baby, the folks say that in order to get Smokey to focus on her and her group only, Charles say Diana was opening up the pearl and letting Smokey see what was inside, honey. So much so that some of the other ladies at Motown called Claudette and told her what was going on. So Claudette came on out right with it. Gossip claims that Smokey came home one night and she told him, I just got off the phone with some of the girls down at the studio and they're telling me that you and Diana are hanging out very tough. tough. And the story says that Smokey is like, oh yeah, we've been kind of hanging out, but she just want me to write her music. It ain't nothing like that. I'm not messing with her. But here it is, all these years later, Smokey Robinson has basically done an interview admitting that he was messing around with Diana Ross. So that time period of them messing around could very well have been this time period right here where Claudette was asking him about it, and he was sitting up there lying and denying. But honestly, while I'm sitting up here winding my neck to the side, truth is, Claudette probably didn't need to know that he was messing with Diana Ross at this time, because she was dealing with a whole other situation. Rumor has it that very soon after she lost that first baby, Claudette ended up getting pregnant again. And just like the pregnancy right before it, she ended up miscarrying in her 5th month again. So I can't imagine what would have happened or how she would have felt if she did find out that Smokey was messing with Diana at this time. But I hate to tell you, honey, Diana wasn't the only lady at Motown that Claudette had to worry about. Child, the folks say that Raynoma Gordy, Berry Gordy's second wife, was also in the running. And honey, when I tell you the folks say that Smokey tried as hard as he could to get Raynoma, baby, ain't no joke to be found. Gossip claims that one day they were sitting and practicing at a piano, and Raynoma was kind of like humming and writing the music as Smokey was sitting down at the piano and playing it. And baby, they say the next thing you know, Smokey stopped playing and told Raynoma that he got a new song he wanna play. And so he starts playing and singing, "You really got a hold on me." And Raynoma is like, "Oh, that's nice, Smoke." Child, before she can get the sentence out, Smokey's green eyes turned smoky, and his hands was off of the piano keys and wrapped around caressing Raynoma's wrist, child. He got to talking about how Berry was cheating on Raynoma, talking about he could be her rock and let him console her. And gossip claims Raynoma was like, no, Smokey, you know what I'm saying? First of all, you got Claudette, and then, you and Berry are close. He trusts you, that's my man. Child say Smokey wasn't trying to hear a word of that. The folks say as time moved along, anytime Smokey saw Raynoma, he always had a joke he wanted to whisper in her ear. He always was sneaking up behind her. Coochie coochie coo. Always sitting up there. "Hey Ray, what kind of perfume you got on today?" "Girl, you smelling good." And then the folks say Smokey became like the Night Rider or something. Listen, I know that sounds stupid, but it was like he started doing mysterious type stuff or something. Like, listen at this. The Motown studio, the house that it was in, Raynoma was walking down the hallway towards the front door. Well, baby, why come she walked past a hallway closet and gossip claims Smokey jumped from out of the closet behind her and kind of scooped her up by the waist and, pressed her into him. Then they say he was flicking his tongue all wet like in her ear, telling her something, "I love you, girl. I want you too, baby." But guess what, child? The folks say that this right here actually got Raynoma steamed up in the undercarriage. Child said it was a hole burnt in the middle of her panties because she was so hot. And then said that she actually turned around to Smokey and baby was about to tell him, "Take me right now." But they say that at the last moment she caught herself and she was able to resist, and so she pushed Smokey away. And if you're wondering why Raynoma was kind of giving into Smokey now, it was because Berry was allegedly treating her like straight trash at this time. And y'all are gonna get that full story because that is actually the very next video. Baby, it is some tea-hee-hee, you hear me? But anyways, like I was saying, Smokey's Night Rider act just kind of went to the extreme. The folks say that Raynoma and Berry were at the Motown building and it was time to shut down for the night. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they lived in the Motown building at this time. Berry and Raynoma did. Well, like I said, it was time to shut down. And Berry told Raynoma, "Okay, I'll be back." Like he was leaving. And this was like his 6th night in a row leaving or something like that. So Raynoma was like, no, you're not going nowhere tonight. You're going to stay home with me. And Berry was basically like, whatever, Ray. I'm leaving. I'm gone. And I guess Raynoma was like trying to put her foot down or something because gossip claims like she yelled out like, "No, I said you're staying home with me. You ain't going nowhere." Child, of folks say that Berry turned around to her and started like stalking to her and then kind of grabbed her arm like this and pushed her into a dark office room. And so Raynoma, basically embarrassed by this whole situation and at her wit's end, is like, "You know what? Fine, go. I don't care. Just leave. Get out." Baby, the folks say Berry came and bopped her on top of the head like that and pushed her on the floor and basically told her, "Hey, cool your voice and watch who you're talking to." And then turned around and left out. And so Raynoma is sitting on the floor in this dark office room, and she's crying, she's kind of rubbing her arm, just crying about the situation she's in. And in the midst of doing this, she suddenly gets the sense that she's not alone. And so she holds her breath in and starts listening, and sure enough, she hears something. Somebody else is definitely in this room with her. So when Raynoma finally gets the courage to look to the side, baby, why come Miss Smokey sitting in the office chair at the desk looking like the Joker, talking about something? Tisk, tisk, tisk. Basically, he had been sitting at that chair in the dark the whole time in the shadows, watching the whole thing go down. And now, he was kind of giving Raynoma a look like, I told you, you should have chose me. And baby, after this night of Barry treating her like that, honey, they say Raynoma almost slid a bra strap down, child, but she slid it back up and held her peace. Now what, child? While Smokey wasn't making that much headway with Raynoma, gossip claims it didn't matter too much because allegedly Raynoma was on her way out the door. And with her departure, rumor has it Smokey became the number 2 man. He became the vice president of Motown. And so now Smokey was enjoying his title and the extra money that came along with it. Also, he was in the process of writing hit after hit after hit. He was rolling in the money, living a good life. And so now Claudette basically quit the Miracles. And they really made this call so Claudette could focus on having a baby so she could relax her body. Because I haven't mentioned this much in the story, but by this time, Claudette had been pregnant about 4 or 5 times and she had lost all of those babies. So Claudette staying at home was a great thing for them to try to have a baby, but it wasn't a great thing when it came down to the marriage. Because there was many, many women on the road. Not only were there the Motown girls with their long, voluptuous legs, there were also the girls in the crowd who were a lot of times even prettier than the Motown girl. And gossip claims it was the girls in the crowd that Smokey would kick back with the most. And gossip claims that Claudette wasn't stupid. You know what I'm saying? She knew that Smokey was out there cheating, but she felt like, as long as this was just one-time things and he came back to her, that it was all cool. Well, that was challenged big time when Just Like Candy came into Smokey Robinson's life. Now, the folks say that Candy wasn't the classy, good girl, beautiful like Claudette was. She was the lusty, fun girl type of beauty. And the folks say she was actually with her father when she first met Smokey Robinson. So the story says that Smokey was walking through the airport after arriving in a city for a show. While he's walking, Candy's daddy comes running up to him and he's basically like, "Oh, Smokey Robinson, man, I love you, but you know who loves you more than me? My daughter Candy. She's right over here." So Smokey goes to meet Candy, and the words that she said next are really strange for somebody to say in front of their daddy, but baby, I guess. So gossip claims she's all over Smokey, and then she tells him, "Ooh, Smokey, I'm so happy I met you. Ooh, you so fine. I'm gonna cast a spell on you. I'm gonna make you mine." And if the story is to be believed, I give Smokey credit because gossip claims that he shot right back, "Well, your magic spell won't work on me. I'm an angel and can't nothing trap me." So Smokey walks off minding his own business, and that night he does his show. Well, when he gets backstage, Candy is there, and gossip claims she has on this skin tight, very short dress, baby, showing all the goods. And I guess this was the magic spell she was talking about because gossip claims she sure enough hooked Smokey with this. In fact, per these rumors on these old Hollywood messy streets, Smokey brought Candy back to Detroit with him, baby, and set her up in an apartment and basically was taking care of her. And while Smokey was rolling on the ground continuously making love with Candy, gossip claims Claudette was trying to get over her 6th or 7th pregnancy that, of course, ended in miscarriage. So once again, if Claudette didn't know about Smokey cheating on her and moving his mistress into town, this was a great thing. And actually, Claudette was able to get through this last failed pregnancy, and she ended up meeting a doctor, and this doctor told her about a procedure where he could use a surrogate mother. Claudette and Smokey were so desperate to finally have a child of their own, they went ahead with the procedure. So they ended up having their first child, a son by the name of Barry, And both Smokey and Claudette were very ecstatic with the birth of their son, but Smokey was so ecstatic. Baby, why come he took little Barry over there to Candy's apartment? But child, Candy said she ain't finna be nobody's second mama. Gossip claims that as soon as she saw baby Barry, she told him, hey, you and your wife really need to make things work. Y'all are a family now. I don't want to interfere, so I'm leaving. But honey, Smokey had fell in love with the idea of having 2 women on his arm. And even when Claudette met a doctor who allegedly kind of tweaked her pelvis so she could carry her own child, and Claudette finally gave birth to Smokey's child, a daughter by the name of Tamla, Smokey still felt like one woman just wasn't enough. It made it very easy for the next young lady to come into his life, and her name was Meta, or it may have been Mita. Now the story says that Meta saw Smokey Robinson at a party, and she walked up to him and she told him she was 21 years old, and she started singing all of the lyrics to almost all of the songs that he had ever sang. Smokey was very impressed by this, and if I'm not mistaken, Smokey at this time was late 30s, early 40s, so messing around with this young, vibrant 21-year-old just really blew his mind. His mind was so gone that one day he marched right into the house and told Claudette, Claudette, I gotta talk to you. You know, I'm sorry, but it's this new girl. Her name Meta, and I just can't get her out of my mind, Claudette. You know, she got a piece of me, Claudette. The folks say Claudette was hurt, but she kept her composure and she told Smokey, you know, just leave. And so Smokey went, smiling all the way to the car, honey. He is just thrilled with his new woman until he finds out that his new woman is not a woman at all. You see, Meta had lied about her age. She was not 21 years old. She was actually just 18. Baby, Smokey went from all that, Meta has a piece of me, Meta is the new queen woman in my life, to sitting up there trying to find Meta's mama's phone number. Because he was scared. Because he was dating a girl who, she wasn't really underage, but you know, that's still considered kind of a child. He didn't know what her mama was gonna say. And Meta must have been really something, honey, because gossip claims that when Smokey finally did call her mama, the mama was like, you know, don't worry, I know she lied to you. That's how Meta is. She does what she want to do when she want to do. I can't control her. The folks say that she basically was like, you know, well, if you love my daughter and she loves you, you know, I guess she could just be your other woman because I know you still married. But let's move on because it's all gossip. But I will say that Smokey was very much relieved by the mother's attitude. And so him and Meta continued to live together. Gossip claims that they lived together for about a year. And then Smokey realized that that young thing might have been fresh and fun, but that couldn't replace the love of a woman with class and strength and knowledge. So the folks say he showed back up to the house crying and asking Claudette to give him another chance. And she did. Smokey moved back in and hit Claudette with that ding-a-ling package, making her feel like everything was okay, and then started right back cheating with Meta. And according to the rumors, he actually cheated with Meta for the next 2 years, and it was she who came to him and basically told him, hey, you know, I can tell you're not gonna leave your wife, and I've met someone, so I'm gonna move on and start dating him. Baby, I kid you not, them folks say that when Meta told Smokey that she was leaving and going on about her life, child, the folks say that he got the crying on bended knee, sitting up there looking like a light-skinned one yay. But let's move on, because after doing all of that, he did indeed let Meta go. And after this, Smokey really should have just let that cheating mess go. He should have went home, focused on Claudette, and also he should have been focusing on his career, because see, by now he had gone solo and he had his smash hit Cruising. But baby, Smokey just couldn't help himself, honey. Them side women had turned him out, and so he was right on the search for another one. And I guess since he couldn't find a new one fast enough, child, of folks say he started calling family and friends asking if they knew Candy's whereabouts. And gossip claims he found her back in California and they picked off right where they left off. Now, I'm sure Claudette must have known about Candy this time, but I think she was resolved to, like I said before, let her husband cheat in peace. But honey, in trying to keep her husband and at the same time let him do what he wanted to do, this set Claudette up for the biggest humiliation of all. And it's just a scandalous thing, child, because Smokey ended up getting his mistress, Candy, pregnant. And honey, you talking about some mess, child? This is messy T and D. Because gossip claims Candy wasn't finna get rid of the baby, and Smokey wasn't really like trying to force her or ask her to anyway. But you know, even if he tried to, Candy made it clear she's not getting rid of her baby. And I don't know what it was about Candy and this new baby, but gossip claims this time he didn't want no Claudette and Candy. He just wanted Candy. And the folks say that Smokey broke the news to Claudette in the worst way possible. Baby, these folks say this man walked in the house either on their 25th year anniversary or a few days before and told Claudette not only was his mistress Candy pregnant, but also that he was leaving her again. And this time, what no cool, calm, and collected. Baby, they say Claudette went off, child. She just burst out in tears. You know, she is yelling, she is screaming, she's picking up vases and throwing them everywhere, and probably even bust Smokey upside the head. And the folks say this was Smokey the whole time, child. Said he didn't move a muscle as stuff flew past his head and bust him upside the head because he knew he was wrong. This woman had struggled for years to have his child, and then he just waltzes with a mistress and she has a child basically right off the bat. Not only that, telling her he's found love with this other woman and that he's done with her. It was really, really bad, but the folks say that the whole time that Claudette was arguing, Smokey was waiting for her to say, you know, I want a divorce, but Claudette never said it. In fact, after she got all of her tears and screaming and everything out of the way, Claudette actually wanted to work on the marriage, but Smokey told her that he didn't want to work on the marriage. You know, he was done with it, so she needed to divorce him. And Claudette told him, I'm not divorcing you. If you want to divorce me, you got to do it. And I feel like Claudette was doing this because she never really thought that Smokey would divorce her. But baby, this man twisted the knife all the way in, because gossip claims that Smokey did leave the house, and not too long after that, he did go see a lawyer and file divorce papers. But if Smokey thought for one moment he was just gonna skate on over to greener pastures, baby, he had another thing coming. All of that young living and young partying and young girls got his behind hooked on some young drugs, and allegedly that young drug was crack. They say Smokey would come out high singing on stage, said his eyes sunk back deep into his head, and you know he got them like big green eyes, so child said the little kids started running from him. Said he got so bad that he used to get high and be laid out in the middle of his floor with pus coming from his body. Don't ask me where the pus was coming from, but you know, I guess his TT or his booster or something. All I know is they said that pus was coming out of this man's body, and it was because he had stomach issues. Like his stomach lining was like, what is it called? Dissolving? I can't think of the word. Y'all know what I mean. And if you're wondering where Candy was at throughout all of this, I'm wondering that too. But allegedly, he and Candy were not together during this time period. The folks say that Smokey actually has shut everybody out. In fact, the only person that finally was able to break through and help him was his best friend, Leon Kennedy. Now, the story says one day Leon Kennedy came bursting down his door. Allegedly, Leon burst in and told Smokey that he had heard about the neighborhood kids running away from his looks, and that ain't right. He said he was there to change it. And he told Smokey, you know, I'm going to pray for you. We're going to get you well. And Smokey told him to get out. And so Leon told him, you know, Smokey, just at least let me take you to church. So gossip claims that Smokey agreed, and Leon took him to a church service where there was a female preacher up in the pulpit preaching. Gossip claims the preacher told Smokey to come up so she could lay hands on him and heal him. And they said she started praying and shouting, you know, doing his head like this, and she was expecting Smokey to fall out, expecting him to be down for the count and slung in the spirit. Baby, why come it was that woman that ended up laid out with her skirt blowing up in the wind? Honey, the folks say the preacher woman had tried to lay him out, and turns out whatever spirit he had in him was stronger than the spirit she had in her, and his spirit had hit her with the RKO. Now, thankfully, the woman pulled through, and when she did, she knew exactly what spirit she was dealing with, and gossip claims she said a different prayer for Smokey, and she started to work with him, and Smokey actually started to come to several of her church services, and eventually he ended up getting clean from drugs. Now, in the 90s, Smokey had gotten his life completely back on track. He never went back to Claudette, but he did go back to music. And there were also some achievements around the corner, like Smokey being inducted into the Hall of Fame. After his induction, he was still working on his music, and then in the year 2002, he ended up going into a restaurant and he saw a beautiful lady there who was about 12 years younger than him eating some coconut shrimp. And I don't know if this lady was sucking on the coconut shrimp, flicking it with her tongue, baby. I do not know. All I know is that when Smokey saw this woman eating this coconut shrimp, baby, it was all over for him. Now, this lady in question was Miss Frances Gladney, and she and Smokey started to talk, and then they began dating, and they ended up getting married. And they are actually still married today. And I guess with Smokey's life kind of coming full circle, you know, he had dealt with his trials and tribulations and the drugs and everything. I guess he wanted to help out the youth of today. And Smokey felt like he needed to do this by fighting the war on drugs and gangbanging. And y'all already know what song I'm talking about. Wasting your time, drinking that wine, yay, smoking that smoke, sniffing that coke, yeah, gang banging. Come on, Smokey, gang banging. Y'all already know I like to remix the songs. I don't know why y'all sitting up there tripping. But let me say this, I did not remix the song that much, baby. Please believe the real version sounded very much similar to that. It's in the top comment, go listen to it. But anyway, this song was not some mega hit or anything like that. It really just seemed almost like a passion project. You know, Smokey was looking at the shape of the world and the position that everybody was in, and he wanted to do something about it. Now, I am happy to say that Mr. Smokey Robinson is still alive and kicking today. He is 84 years old, and honey, when he ain't doing messy interviews talking about who he messed around with, which I love them interviews, so please don't stop, because we need to know it all, Mr. Robinson. We need to know it all. But anyway, when he's not doing those interviews, he's still revving up the ladies, honey, doing all that shaking and shimmering he be doing on the stage. Still very much a green-eyed Casanova devil. And I actually dare say that Smokey Robinson is one of the few people who became a legend in his own lifetime. So whatever you want to say about him, you definitely cannot deny that. But anyways, guys, this is the end of the old Hollywood scandalous tale of Mr. Smokey Robinson. I hope you guys liked the video. I really liked this video, I ain't gonna lie. But I hope you guys liked it. If so, please like it. Also, if you are new here, subscribe. And I will see you guys with another video soon. Bye. Drinking that wine. Come on, brother. Smoking.